So what I wanted to do here is go over the events of Secret Wars Part 5. And again, we're covering these stories as they're released, and so while there may be large gaps between each of these videos, this is due to the fact that the main Secret Wars story is a monthly series. What I also want to mention is that once Secret Wars completes, we'll come back and cover the tie-ins in order to give this well-rounded perspective of the whole Secret Wars event. So in Part 4, we had talked about how Doctor Strange was harboring feelings of resentment towards Doom. The feelings that Strange had weren't necessarily based in a hatred for Doom, but a disappointment with how the new reality is versus how it should have been. Where Doom had taken the power of the Beyonders and created a harsh world where its occupants were tested on a daily basis following the collapse of the multiverse, Strange seemed to prefer the idea of effectively giving life a chance to start over on the best foot possible. In addition to this, the survivors of the Ultimate Universe and the survivors of the mainstream continuity began to sort of take sides here. Miles Morales, Peter Parker, Reed Richards, Thor, Star-Lord, Cyclops, and Black Panther had all united under the banner of Doctor Strange, while Thanos, Namor, and their Cabal had gone their own way. However, the forces of Thanos had come into conflict with the Thor Corps, the police force of Battleworld, and in doing so, drew the attention of Doctor Strange's group, which led to the appearance of Doom following the realization that the mainstream Reed Richards was alive. But because Cyclops with the powers of the Phoenix Force had been killed by Doom, Doctor Strange had whisked all of the survivors away to various locations throughout Battleworld. Now what I want to do is I want to deviate and I want to talk about the death of Cyclops as the Phoenix for a second, because while this was an impressive scene, something that I think went unnoticed by readers is that with Cyclops' survival into Battleworld followed by his death, Jonathan Hickman is effectively telling us that the Phoenix Force now exists on Battleworld. More so than that, at some point, the Phoenix Force is going to need a new host. Continuing on, because Doctor Strange saving the heroes was considered to be an act of treason against Doom's authority, and stating that Doom had ruined the chance for the survivors of the multiversal collapse to start over, Doctor Strange refused to bring the heroes back. As a result, Doom had killed Doctor Strange. And so what we do now is we pick up with Secret Wars issue number 5 and the continuation of the story. So starting off with the funeral of Doctor Strange, there are a few key things here I would like you to pay special attention to. The first is the eulogy that's being given. The unnamed man of the Thor Corps tells us that in the beginning there was nothing, and that the great god Doom had created everything, and alongside him stood his first disciple in the form of Doctor Strange. If you notice, there's no mention of the Molecule Man, the third man who stood beside Doom and Strange in the battle against the Beyonders in order to save the multiverse. Now this is something I'd like you to keep in the back of your head, because this will become particularly important as we continue with this part of the event. The next thing I'd like you to take notice of is Franklin Richards. When the funeral proceedings complete, Franklin Richards offers a gift to the statue of Doctor Strange in the form of a leaf that he turns into a wreath. Now again, this is also important because Jonathan Hickman is telling us that Franklin Richards still has the power to warp reality. Furthermore, because Jonathan Hickman's stories all tie into each other, with the events of Franklin Richards making Galactus' herald during the Future Foundation in the mainstream continuity, it's entirely possible that this version of Franklin Richards does possess the same power. Now, whether this power rivals that of Doctor Doom is unknown, but what Franklin tells us is that he plans revenge against whoever it was that killed Doctor Strange, indicating that a battle will take place somewhere along the line between Franklin Richards and Doctor Doom. Now, the story begins to transition away a bit and focus on Valeria Richards. As a daughter of Susan and Reed, Valeria was a character that had a level of intelligence comparable to both her father and Doctor Doom. As such, while she expresses feelings to Doom that her actions of having previously notified Doctor Strange about the survivors of the Ultimate Universe led him down the path that resulted in his death, she remains unaware that it was actually Doom who killed Strange. But furthermore, in her mind and the mind of everyone else, it is believed that the survivors of the mainstream and the Ultimate Universe continuities were actually the ones who had killed Strange. And so the question lingers that if Doom himself had arrived to fight alongside Doctor Strange, how was it that the survivors got away? While Doom seems to beat around the bush here in stating that no one had escaped, the explanation he offers on why they've not been captured is that in his current mindset, if he were to seek them out, he would immediately destroy them in his own grief. Now, while this is clearly a lie, Jonathan Hickman leaves this a little ambiguous as to whether or not Valeria believes it. And so in an effort to distract her thoughts from Doom's involvement, or for some reason or another, Doom tasks Valeria Richards with tracking down the survivors of the mainstream and the Ultimate Universe continuities. Now, continuing on, Jonathan Hickman continues this trend of revealing important aspects of the events following the collapse of the multiverse when we learn that the Molecule Man Owen Reese is actually still alive. Now, this is perhaps the most important aspect of the story because this gives us some insight into how Battleworld formed, how it functioned prior to the death of Stephen Strange, and how his death will change everything going forward. Now, I'd like you to pay special attention to the words Hickman uses here: devourer, hunger, and so on. While this could simply mean that Owen Reese is quite literally hungry for physical food, the running theory among fans is that Molecule Man is set to be the new Galactus. Again, while this is a theory, it seems supported in the information that follows. But what Hickman does here is seemingly retcon the creation of everything. Where previously it was believed that the enigma known as the One Above All was the driving force behind everything in existence, what Hickman seems to be telling us here is that the Beyonders themselves had created all things, including the multiverse. In addition to this, Hickman provides a bit of consolidation regarding the events that led up to the multiversal collapse. With the Beyonders having looked at their multiverse and making the decision to basically start over, the Molecule Man was created and then split into an infinite number of versions of himself, which were all placed in every reality across the infinite expanse of the multiverse. Using his ability to control the molecules of all things, the Beyonders sought to destroy every version of Molecule Man simultaneously, which would bring an end to everything and allow the Beyonders to basically start anew. However, learning of their plan, Doom and Owen Reese concocted their own plan to destroy each version of Owen Reese in order to preserve the multiverse. But a byproduct of this action was that with each version of Molecule Man that was killed in an alternate reality, the mainstream Molecule Man grew more and more insane since he was effectively losing more and more of himself. And so with time running short, Doom, Strange, and Owen Reese abandoned their plan and instead began collecting Molecule Man from the realities that hadn't been destroyed. Now, during their final battle with the Beyonders, the captured versions of Molecule Man were dispersed into the Beyonders and detonated like bombs. And so with the Beyonders dead but their powers still present, Doom, Strange, and the last remaining Owen Reese captured their power, seeking to use it in order to preserve what was left. Using fragments of the world that he had traveled during his time killing the Molecule Man, Doom pieced these fragments together and formed Battleworld. In addition to this, the power of the Beyonders was simply too much for Doom or Doctor Strange to control, and so using Owen Reese as a conduit, the power of the Beyonders is channeled through the Molecule Man and possessed by Doom. However, what Hickman tells us is that where Dr. Doom acted as the power of Battleworld, he was not all-knowing and relied on Doctor Strange to operate as an eyes and ears. But because Doctor Strange is now dead, Doom is virtually blind to all things going on in Battleworld, which has effectively started a chain reaction that will eventually lead to its total destruction. Now, transitioning back to Valeria Richards, we join with the Future Foundation. As a group that was established in Hickman's run of the Fantastic Four, the Future Foundation operated as a group of the world's brightest minds, both young and old, in order to solve the world's problems. While the group as it exists now is composed of a fraction of its original population, under Valeria Richards, they established a couple of important things for us. The first is that everything on Battleworld is composed of what they refer to as God Particles, or the power of Doom. While we know this to be the power of the Beyonders, the Future Foundation doesn't, and so they simply state that everything on Battleworld is composed of this energy. Now, while this might be a bit of a stretch here, I would be willing to go out on a limb and say that Hickman is telling us that rather than Doom piecing Battleworld together from what was left of the multiverse, instead, all of the realities that exist on Battleworld were created by Doom using the power of the Beyonders. And furthermore, as it's stated here, where Dr. Doom's power was rooted in the Beyonders, the power of Stephen Strange was rooted in magic. As a result, when Stephen Strange wished the survivors of the mainstream and Ultimate Universe continuities away and was subsequently killed by Doom, the machines of the Future Foundation registered 2 spikes of energy, one by Doom and one by Doctor Strange. Using the timeline of when these energies spiked, the group seems to come to the realization that Doom killed Strange. But as Valeria states, all information gathered on the investigation will stay with the group. And so as we bring this issue of Secret Wars to a close, we find Thanos facing the shield which separates the rest of Battleworld from the Marvel Zombies and Ultron, indicating that Thanos intends to use these forces for his own ends. With that being said, we're going to bring this video to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.